Hello and welcome to Archi Corner. This is episode number 19, and today we will be doing an overview of what makes restrooms ADA compliant, so brace yourself. This video may be a little longer than usual, but if you are trying to understand restrooms and how they are affected by ADA, this video will be the best video you watch in this regard, hands down. But don't take our word for it, watch it and decide for yourself. Not to mention it's a free video! And although many will sure be quick at pointing out exceptions and special circumstances that go beyond what will be explained in this video, this will provide a wide comprehension of restrooms as a whole. And since restrooms are some of the most complicated rooms to work with from an ADA standpoint, no doubt you may want to see this video more than once. Just watch and see. No pun intended. Well, maybe just a little bit. Anyways, and just to be clear, we are talking about commercial applications in adult restrooms. Also, we want to take a moment here to mention that Archi Corner is a growing channel. It's a small channel, but it's growing. And every like and every subscriber helps in making videos like this possible. So if you're an emerging architect, inspector, graduate, or maybe you simply love all the nitty-gritty that goes into architecture and design, do not forget to subscribe, give us a thumbs up, share with others, and keep learning. It is thanks to people like you that this channel is able to grow. Today we're going to talk about how ADA affects lavatories, urinals, accessible stalls, ambulatory stalls, and the accessories that complement them. A timestamp has been placed in the video description below in case you want to skip to specific topics. So if you just want to jump to a specific topic, feel free to do so. But we hope that you watch the entire video. Come on, don't be lazy. This beats sitting down and spending hours trying to figure this out on your own. The last item to have in mind while we review ADA requirements is that some states and jurisdictions may have additional requirements that go beyond these standards, so please have that in mind. Having said all that, let's get started. Restrooms are mostly covered by Chapter 6 of the 2010 ADA standards. It all starts inside a toilet room, including multi-fixture facilities, as you can see drawn here. These are required to have a turning space in the bathroom. This can be provided by either having a 60-inch minimum diameter circle within the room or a T-shaped space with the minimum dimensions you see drawn here. And in case you're wondering, yes, the door can swing into the turning spaces, but a door cannot swing into floor spaces or clearances required for any fixture, which we will talk about shortly. As we talked about these other clearances, know that clear floor spaces, clearances at a fixture, and turning spaces are indeed allowed to overlap each other. Let's now move on to lavatories. The floor or ground space requirements are that a clear floor space be provided for a forward approach. A forward approach is 30 inches minimum by 48 inches minimum in size, as you see drawn here in floor plan. Please note that if this lavatory was to be a single lavatory and it was in an alcove deeper than 24 inches, the clearance would need to be 36 inches wide minimum instead of just 30 inches. Knee and toe clearances below the sink are also required, starting with the knee clearances. The bottom of the sink must be 27 inches minimum and should extend a minimum of 8 inches back. From there, the clearance can be reduced to 9 inches and should extend 11 inches back. And following up with the toe clearance. Toe clearance is required to extend 17 inches minimum and 25 inches maximum underneath. If you do extend the 17 inches up to 25 inches back, note that you need to move the entire clearance back because you cannot extend the toe clearance more than 6 inches beyond the knee clearance. 34 inches maximum is allowed to the top of the counter or top of the lavatory rim. So if your lavatory is a counter-mounted lavatory as shown here, the measurements are taken to the top of the lavatory rim, not the countertop. This gets overlooked all the time. You would be surprised. Many just measure the countertop and think that it will be fine. So be careful. Be sure you know what type of lavatory you're using. And now for the faucets. We have all seen faucets with knobs, mainly in residential applications. However, the controls used to operate a faucet are not allowed to have tight grasping, pinching, or twisting of the wrist. In addition, it is required to be operable with one hand, and that is why most of the time you see levers used to operate them, similar to what is shown here. Alternatively, if you activate the faucet by pushing on hardware or by a sensor, the faucet must remain open for at least 10 seconds. Last but not least, for lavatories, water supply and drain pipes under lavatories are required to be insulated or otherwise configured to protect against contact, which in many cases just means having a built counter beneath for protection. One down. Alright, we're done with lavatories. Let's move on to mirrors. If a mirror is provided above a lavatory, the bottom edge of the reflective surface must be at 40 inches above finished floor maximum. Let's zoom in here because it is important to note that this is not to the frame or trim that surrounds the mirror. No, this is measured to the reflective surface, which in this case would be up here. So be careful. How about other type of mirrors, such as full body mirrors? These are required to have the bottom edge of the reflective surface at 35 inches maximum above the finished floor. There is no reference on how tall a mirror should be, but the DOJ has advised that a single full-length mirror can accommodate a greater number of people, including children, if such full-height mirror has a top edge at 74 inches minimum above the finished floor. Alright, we're done with another one. Let's now switch on to urinals. Just like the lavatory, the urinal must also have a clear floor or ground space designed for front approach, which, as we mentioned before, is a 30-inch minimum by 48-inch minimum floor clearance. And just like the lavatory, if the depth is greater than 24 inches, then 36-inch minimum width is required, not just 30 inches wide. Urinals may be stall type or wall hung type, as shown here. If it is a wall hung type, the rim must be 17 inches maximum above the finished floor. However, regardless of whether it is stall type or wall hung type, they both must be 13.5 inches deep minimum. Flushing lever is allowed to be up to 48 inches maximum above the finished floor. Hey, we're moving along nicely, guys. We're moving on. So hold on tight, we're getting there. Let's move on to accessible water closet compartments. But before we start talking about water closets, let's clear something up really quick. There is a difference between toilet compartments and toilet rooms. A toilet compartment, such as what you see drawn here, is typically found when you have more than one water closet. A toilet room, on the other hand, as you can now see here, is a room that is usually used by only one person at a time, or by a family like a parent going in there with a child. With that in mind, first we're going to talk about toilet compartments, and then we'll come back to toilet rooms at the end. Now that we have that out of the way, let's talk about compartment size. The size for an accessible water closet compartment depends on the type of water closet you have. There are two types of water closets, wall hung and floor mounted. If you use a wall hung type of water closet, 56 inches depth minimum is required. If floor mounted, then 59-inch depth minimum is required. As for widths, regardless of the water closet type, 60 inches minimum is required. Also, a side note here is that items such as grab bars, dispensers, sanitary napkin disposal units, coat hooks, shelves, accessible routes, clear floor space, and other clearances required at other fixtures and turning space may be provided within these clearances. However, the DOJ advisory tells us that this space cannot be obstructed by baby changing tables or other fixtures or conveniences that were not already discussed. For example, as shown here, the doors cannot impede into this required clearance. Moving on to doors. In order to talk about the requirements for doors, we will need to show the other three possible layouts of an accessible water stall. You have side door that swings in, side door that swings out, front door that swings in, and front door that swings out. Regardless of the location of the doors must always be on the opposite corner of the water closet. Where located in the side or wall partition, the door opening shall be 4 inches max from the front partition or wall. If it's located in the front partition, the door shall be 4 inches maximum from the side wall or partition furthest from the water closet. One thing to have in mind is that if a door swings in, the door must not impede into the clearance required by the water closet, which, as we mentioned before, varies depending on whether the water closet is floor mounted or wall mounted. The following items also apply to these doors regardless of their location. The door needs to be self-closing, usually by means of a gravity hinge. A door pull must be placed on both sides of the door near the latch. Now for the operation of the hardware, it must be operable with one hand and cannot require tight grasping, pinching, or twisting of the wrist. It should also be between 34 inches minimum and 48 inches maximum above the finished floor. As for other clearances pertaining to doors, there's another video that was created just for doors. A link will be provided at the end of this video if you are interested. The clearances apply to these doors as well, with one exception. If the approach to the door is to the latch side of the compartment door, the clearance between the door and any obstruction is only required to be 42 inches minimum, as shown here. Because these are multi-toilet compartments, they are usually separated by partitions, either located on the front, the side, or both partitions. These partitions must meet certain toe clearances. These clearances must meet 9 inches minimum above the finished floor and 6 inches minimum depth beyond the partition outside of the stall. Now, you do not need these for the front partition if the depth of the compartment is greater than 62 inches for wall-hung closets or 65 inch deep for a floor-mounted water closet. You also don't need this for the side partitions if the width of the compartment is greater than 66 inches regardless of the type of water closet used. Are you still hanging on? Are you still with us? I hope you are. We're halfway through this, probably a little more. So let's keep on moving. Don't give up. You're almost done. You're almost there. Come on. Let's move on to the requirements for water closets in the accessible stall. As you see here, there must be a wall or partition on the back and on the side. The water closet must be between 16 inches and 18 inches from the side wall or partition measured to the center line of the water closet. Water closet seats shall be between 17 inches minimum and 19 inches maximum above the finished floor measured to the top of the seat. The seat should not be sprung to return to the lifted position. And on to the flush controls. Flushing lever is allowed to be up to 48 inches maximum above the finished floor. They can be hand operated or automatic. If they are hand operated, they must be located on the open side of the water closet. Moving on to toilet paper dispensers. These must be located between 7 inches minimum and 9 inches maximum in front of the water closet. This is measured to the center line of the toilet paper dispenser to the water closet front edge. Outlets of the dispenser should be between 15 inches minimum and 48 inches maximum above the finished floor. Whether the dispenser is below or above the grab bar, there are clearances you need for the grab bar, which we will talk about in a minute. But those clearances pretty much mean that you would almost always have the dispensers below the grab bar, and you'll see those clearance requirements in a minute. The toilet paper dispenser cannot be the type of dispenser that controls delivery or that does not allow continuous paper flow. And now let's move on to the grab bars. Grab bars are required at the end and side of the water closet. Let's first start with the side grab bar. It must be 42 inches long minimum, 12 inches maximum from the rear wall, and extend 54 inches minimum from the rear wall. Note that the 12 inches maximum from the wall and the extension is maximum. This is placed because sometimes rather than providing two separate grab bars, you can accommodate this using a single L-shaped grab bar that can accommodate both requirements, including the requirements for the rear grab bar, which is next. The rear grab bar must be 36 inches long minimum. The placement is based on the center line of the water closet. From the center line, you must have 12 inches minimum to the wall side and 24 inches minimum to the open side. As for height goes, both the side grab bar and rear grab bar are required to be mounted between 33 inches minimum and 36 inches maximum above the finished floor. This measurement is taken to the top of the gripping surface. Now let's see a section of an enlarged grab bar to understand other requirements. Circular grab bars are required to have a 1 1/4 inch minimum and up to 2 inch maximum outside diameter. The space between the wall and the grab bar is required to be 1.5 inches. Interestingly enough, there is no minimum and there is no maximum for this, so it has to be just 1.5 inches. Between the grab bar and projecting objects below the grab bar, there needs to be 1.5 inches clear. There also has to be a 1.5 inch minimum clearance at the end of the grab bar. Between the grab bar and projecting objects above, you are required to have 12 inches minimum clear. This was the prior reference made in regards to the toilet paper dispenser, because you need 12 inches minimum clear above the grab bar. In most instances, because of this clearance, toilet paper dispensers are mounted below the grab bar. Let's talk now about the ambulatory stall. An ambulatory stall is required anytime there are 6 or more toilet compartments, which include urinals and water closets. As shown here, there are a total of 6 compartments, including the urinals. Therefore, an ambulatory stall is required. To provide one, an ambulatory stall is required to be between 35 inches wide minimum and 37 inches wide maximum. It's also required to have 60 inches minimum in length. The water closet must be between 17 inches and 19 inches from the side or wall partition, as shown here. This measurement is to both partitions. Grab bars must also be placed on each side. These grab bars are required to meet the same exact requirements as the side grab bars in the accessible stall we talked about earlier. 42 inches minimum, 12 inches max from the back wall, and must extend from the back wall a minimum of 54 inches. The doors provided must also be self-closing. A door pull must be placed on both sides of the door near the latch, and the doors cannot swing into the minimum required compartment area, which basically means you have to swing the door out unless you make the stall deeper. Man, we're covering a lot of space here, guys. Almost there, almost there. Don't give up now, we're almost done. We are moving on now to the accessories. Coat hooks may be installed up to 48 inches maximum above the finished floor, only if there's no obstruction below. Since this is a restroom, it is uncommon to have a counter or shelves underneath the coat hook. And let's face it, if you place a counter or shelf beneath the coat hook, then why even put one at all? Come on. Just have in mind that if there are obstructions below, although unlikely, this might be reduced to 44 inches above the finished floor depending on the type of obstruction. Technically speaking, you can place a coat hook right down to 15 inches minimum above the finished floor. But again, if you're placing a coat hook at 15 inches above the finished floor, then why are you placing one to begin with? Nevertheless, it's allowed. If you are able to see here, these are also applicable to other accessories, such as dispensers. There are many types of accessories out there, which would also follow the same exact requirements. Just have in mind that when it comes to accessories, the top mounting height is to the operable part, whether it's a lever, a button, or whatever it may be. It has to be to the top of the highest operable part. Moving on to shelves. The shelves may be installed between 40 inches minimum and 48 inches maximum above the finished floor. However, the shelf should not be more than 4 inches deep. If you guys have gotten this far, congrats. We're just a couple of items away from finalizing this thing. The last items to talk about are single toilet rooms. These pretty much have the same requirements as a toilet compartment, which we've been talking about this whole time, with just one exception. There must be a 60-inch by 56-inch minimum clearance measured from the perpendicular wall or partition and the rear wall or partition, respectively. This is regardless of whether the toilet is wall-mounted or floor-mounted. Whew, man, congratulations, you guys made it to the end of the video. I hope you found this video interesting. Please remember to place your comments below, and if you're interested in a certain subject, please note it. I am leaving you with some videos that I think may interest you, including one that speaks about the maneuvering clearances required at doors. Please remember to subscribe if you like this content. And know the thumbs up always help, so if you feel like you're in a cheerful mood, please give this video a thumbs up. I hope you have a good day or a good night, depending on when you're watching this. But for now, this is Archi Corner signing out.